Have you ever found yourself drawn to a woman you knew you shouldn't even be thinking about? She's married, off limits, yet somehow she lingers in your mind longer than any single woman ever could. It's not just about attraction. It's something deeper, something dangerous, something primal. And if you've ever felt that pull, the magnetic urge you can't fully explain, you're not crazy. Here's the brutal truth most men will never admit. Married women trigger a kind of temptation that single women rarely can. And it's not because they're more beautiful, more exciting, or more available. It's because of deep psychological forces at work. Forces that tap into your most ancient instincts as a man. Forces you probably don't even realize are shaping your desires. And if you don't understand them, you'll either beat yourself up with guilt or make reckless choices that destroy your peace. But here's the kicker. It's not about them. It's about you. It's about mastering the urges you don't control yet and turning them into strength instead of weakness. Because the truth is, women don't control men. Emotional ignorance controls men. Today, we're pulling back the curtain. I'm going to show you exactly why married women are so dangerously tempting, and more importantly, how a stoic, grounded man sees through the illusion and stays in full control. No guilt, no shame, no confusion, just a deeper understanding of your own mind and the silent forces that most men stay blind to their entire lives. So if you're ready to stop being a slave to emotions you don't even recognize, if you're ready to master yourself in a world full of emotional traps, stick around. Because once you see what's really happening behind the scenes, you'll never look at attraction or yourself the same way again. Let's get into it. Number 1, the forbidden fruit effect. Let me be brutally honest with you. Nothing triggers a man's desire faster than something he's told he can't have. And married women, they represent the ultimate forbidden fruit. Off limits, untouchable, already claimed by another man. And that's exactly why they trigger something primal inside you. Have you ever noticed? The moment you're told don't touch, suddenly touching becomes the only thing you can think about. It's not logic. It's not even pure lust. It's biological warfare happening inside your mind. Thousands of years of survival instincts are being activated. The same instincts that once pushed ancient men to compete for the most valuable women in the tribe, even if they were already bonded to another. Here's the kicker. It's not even about her. It's about the challenge. It's about the scarcity. Your brain registers her not as just another woman, but as a rare, highly protected resource, something valuable enough that another man already committed his life to it. And whether you realize it or not, scarcity always multiplies value in your mind. You don't crave abundance. You crave what's rare, what's restricted, what feels just slightly out of reach. And society drives this even deeper into your psyche. Every movie, every story, every song, it's packed with tales of forbidden love, secret affairs, dangerous attractions. It programs you to believe that what's forbidden must be more intense, more exciting, more real. But here's where most men crash and burn. They confuse the intensity of temptation with the truth of connection. Just because something feels overwhelmingly tempting doesn't mean it's meant for you. Temptation isn't truth. Temptation is just amplified emotion. And emotion, when left unchecked, leads to chaos. So the weak man? He chases the feeling. He burns down everything for a dopamine hit. The strong man? He recognizes the feeling, but he doesn't bow to it. He sees the forbidden fruit for what it really is, a test, a mirror exposing whether he's ruled by fleeting impulses or anchored by unshakable self-control. Because here's the reality most will never accept. If a woman's main source of attraction is the fact that she's unavailable, then it was never about who she is. It was about what she represents. A chase, a fantasy, an illusion. And a man who trades his peace for an illusion is no man at all. So the next time you feel that magnetic pull toward a married woman, don't run from it. Don't shame yourself. See it clearly. Name it for what it is. It's not love. It's not fate. It's a biological trigger testing your emotional leadership. And a stoic man, a man who leads himself, doesn't fall for shadows wearing perfume. He stays grounded. He stays centered. He stays free. Because he understands that real strength isn't chasing what he can't have. It's choosing what truly serves his highest self. But temptation isn't just about what's forbidden. Sometimes it's about what's missing. What you crave, but rarely find anymore. And when a married woman walks into the room, she carries something most modern women have lost. Let's talk about it. Number 2, she radiates feminine energy. Have you ever been around a woman who didn't need attention to feel validated? She wasn't posting thirst traps. She wasn't trying to dominate the conversation. She wasn't seeking validation from every man in sight. She was just being, calm, confident, radiating a kind of effortless feminine energy that you didn't even realize you were starving for. That's the silent power many married women project, without even trying, and it hits harder than you expect. Here's why. In a world flooded with women chasing masculine validation, a woman who's already been chosen, who's settled into her role, her rhythm, her essence, feels like a rare oasis. She doesn't have to scream for attention. She doesn't have to perform. She simply exists. And her energy does all the talking. And your instincts, the parts of you that crave softness, nurturing, emotional stability, pick up on it instantly. It's not about looks. It's not about sex appeal. It's about polarity. Masculine energy seeks feminine energy, naturally, magnetically, without logic. And when a woman has embraced her femininity fully, instead of fighting it, resenting it, or burying it under layers of masculine ambition, she becomes irresistible. Think about it. Most single women today are stuck in survival mode, hustling, competing, chasing status, living in their masculine 24/7. So when you meet a woman who's surrendered to her feminine essence, her softness, her emotional depth, her receptivity, it feels like breathing oxygen after years of suffocating on dust. And that's why married women, not all, but many, project an energy that stirs men on a level they can't fully explain. They're not auditioning. They're not hunting. They're settled into being. And ironically, because they aren't seeking validation, they draw it in effortlessly. Now here's the trap most men fall into. They confuse the calming, nurturing energy of a married woman with personal chemistry. They think, she feels different. We must have a connection. Wrong. What you're feeling isn't personal. It's primal. You're not connecting with her soul. You're responding to her feminine polarity, something your masculine core has been aching for without even realizing it. And if you don't recognize that, you'll chase an illusion. You'll project fantasies onto a woman who's simply radiating what all men crave, but few find in today's world. The weak man lets that craving control him. The strong man sees it clearly and stays grounded. He doesn't confuse emotional resonance with destiny. He doesn't burn down his life chasing a feeling he can cultivate by finding or leading the right kind of woman. Because real masculine strength isn't about surrendering to every emotional high. It's about recognizing the energy for what it is, appreciating it, respecting it, but never letting it break your frame. That's how a stoic man moves. Calm, focused, unshaken. And when you master this awareness, you stop getting played by the illusion of attraction and start choosing connections that actually build your life instead of burning it down. But here's the truth most men miss. It's not just her feminine energy that makes her magnetic. It's something even deeper. It's the fact that she's not chasing you. She's not seeking your validation. And that effortless indifference, it's the ultimate weapon, the one that pulls you in without her lifting a finger. Let's break it down. Number 3, the power of indifference. In a world where most women are chasing attention, a woman who moves like she doesn't need yours, she becomes magnetic without even trying. And that, my friend, is the deadly power of indifference. See, men are wired to chase. It's biological. When something resists, when it pulls away, when it shows no need for you, your mind flips into overdrive. Why isn't she seeking me out? What's different about her? How do I win her attention? It's the same instinct that made ancient hunters track the hardest prey, not because they needed it, but because the challenge itself became intoxicating. Now here's where it gets dangerous. Married women often project this indifference naturally. They aren't hunting. They aren't fishing for compliments. They aren't thirsty for validation. They're emotionally fed elsewhere. Their emotional needs, at least on the surface, are already being met. And that effortless detachment, it triggers something savage inside you. Most single women today, whether they realize it or not, are constantly signaling neediness, checking their phones, posting curated moments online, seeking external approval to validate their self-worth. But a woman who's emotionally indifferent to your presence, she feels rare. She feels different. And the male brain interprets that as value. If she's not seeking validation, she must already be validated. If she's not chasing anyone, she must be worth chasing. It's pure evolutionary psychology at work. But here's the brutal reality. Most men fail this test. They chase harder. They double down. They get emotionally invested, trying to prove their worth. And every time they reach, every time they lean in, they lose more power. Because the moment you start chasing indifference, you shift from being the grounded, centered man to being just another seeker begging for validation. And trust me, she feels that shift. Women, married or not, can smell neediness from miles away. And once they sense you've lost your frame, it's over. That magnetic energy you felt at the beginning, it evaporates. So how does a Stoic man handle this? He doesn't chase indifference. He mirrors it. If she's indifferent, he remains centered. He remains calm. He continues living with purpose, regardless of whether she notices him or not. Because the truth is brutal and beautiful at the same time. A woman's indifference isn't a problem to solve. It's a mirror showing you where your own emotional leadership really stands. Are you grounded enough to hold your frame when you're not being praised? Are you strong enough to stay composed when you're not being chased? That's the real test. And the man who passes it, he stops getting pulled into emotional games. He stops making decisions based on temporary feelings. He becomes the rare man that women, even married women, feel drawn to without even understanding why. Because he doesn't just look confident, he is confident. And that kind of man, he doesn't chase validation, he attracts it. But indifference isn't the only invisible weapon married women carry. There's something even more primal at play, something that signals value without a single word being spoken. Let's dive deeper. Number 4, proven value. She was chosen. Here's a brutal truth no one talks about. Men are wired to value what other men have already fought for. And when you see a woman wearing a ring, Your subconscious mind picks up a powerful signal. She was chosen. She wasn't just another option. She wasn't left on the sidelines. Another man, at some point, decided she was worth committing his life to. And whether you realize it or not, that act alone elevates her perceived value in your mind. This is biological. It's primal. Throughout history, men didn't just compete for women randomly. They competed for women who were seen as desirable by other high-value men. Social proof mattered, and it still does today, even if most men can't see it happening beneath the surface. Here's the kicker. It's not even about her personal qualities. It's the fact that someone else vetted her and put a public stamp of approval on her value. She must be loyal. She must be nurturing. She must know how to be a wife. These assumptions flood your mind without you even noticing. It's why you find yourself giving her more credit, more intrigue, more emotional weight, even if you barely know her. Think about it. When you walk into a store and see a watch that's locked behind glass with a velvet rope and a spotlight, you assume it's valuable, even if you've never worn it. It's human nature. Scarcity plus social proof equals perceived value. Married women, by default, carry that same invisible spotlight. They aren't on the market. They're already reserved, already taken, already validated. And that reserved status, even if her relationship is falling apart behind closed doors, still broadcasts an aura of significance. But here's where most men fail. They confuse perceived value with personal value. They assume that because another man chose her, she must automatically be a prize, without vetting her themselves, without seeing if she actually aligns with their standards. They get blinded by the spotlight instead of checking the substance. A Stoic man doesn't fall for surface-level validation. He understands that another man's choice says nothing about what's right for him. He doesn't let scarcity or status trick him into giving away his power. He evaluates. He observes. He decides, not based on what she once meant to someone else, but based on what she shows him in the present. Because real masculine leadership isn't about chasing what others admire. It's about knowing exactly what aligns with your mission and letting everything else pass by, no matter how tempting it looks from a distance. But even beyond her status, there's another reason you feel that magnetic pull, one that taps directly into your most primal masculine instinct. It's the ancient, unstoppable urge to compete, to conquer, to prove yourself. And if you're not careful, it'll pull you straight into a war you never needed to fight. Let's get into it. Number 5. The challenge and competition instinct. Deep inside every man, buried beneath the layers of modern politeness, there's a warrior. And that warrior craves one thing more than anything else: victory. Not over just anyone, over the competition, over the man who already won the prize. And when you encounter a married woman, whether you realize it or not, that primal instinct wakes up. See, it's not always about the woman herself. It's about the fact that someone else already claimed her. Someone else already won. And now, some deep part of your masculine psyche sees an opportunity to prove you're stronger, better, more worthy. It's competition instinct, hardwired from generations of survival, where only the strongest, most dominant men passed on their genes. Back then, if you could take another man's resources, including his woman, you increased your odds of survival. It was brutal. It was savage. But it worked. Fast forward to today, and even though society looks different, the programming inside you hasn't evolved much. So when you see a woman who already belongs to another man, some ancient, competitive fire gets lit. You don't just want her. You want to prove you can win her. That's why the temptation feels sharper. That's why the idea of conquering her feels like a private badge of honor. But here's the brutal reality most men ignore. You're not competing against her husband. You're competing against your own weakness, your own ego, your own need for external validation. Because the moment you start playing that invisible game, you've already lost. You've given your power away to emotions you don't even fully understand. Think about it. True strength isn't proven by stealing from another man's table. True strength is proven by building your own. A Stoic man doesn't waste his energy chasing trophies that don't belong to him. He doesn't measure his worth by what he can take. He measures it by what he can build, lead, and protect. And when you reach that level of grounded masculinity, you stop needing to win women away from other men. You attract women who choose you, freely, fully, without divided loyalty. You attract peace. You attract strength. You attract respect from women, from men, and most importantly, from yourself. But there's another hidden force married women project, one that feels even more addictive than competition. It's the deep, almost invisible aura of experience. And if you're not careful, it'll pull you into emotional depths you're not ready for. Let's break it down. Number 6, sexual confidence and emotional depth. It's not just her status. It's not just her indifference. It's not just the competition instinct she awakens. There's something deeper, something you feel in your gut before you even realize it. Experience, emotional depth, sexual confidence. A certain way she carries herself, like a woman who knows herself fully. Married women, for better or worse, have been through fire. They've navigated emotional highs and lows. They've lived through intimacy that goes beyond lust, and that depth radiates off them like heat. It's in the way she looks at you, unhurried, unrushed. It's in the way she speaks, measured, grounded, comfortable in silence. It's in the way she moves, not trying to impress but naturally exuding a quiet confidence that screams, "I've been desired before. I know exactly who I am." And if you're a man who's been starved of real soul-deep connection, that kind of presence hits you like a drug. Most younger women today are still caught in surface-level games, flirting for attention, performing, masking insecurity with fake confidence. But a woman who's lived real intimacy, she doesn't need to perform. She doesn't need to prove anything. She simply is. And that authenticity feels rare. It stirs something ancient inside you, the desire for not just sex, but for connection, for depth, for understanding, for being seen without judgment. And that's why so many men fall, not for the woman herself, but for the feeling she awakens, the feeling of finally being understood, without having to perform. Here's the brutal truth most men ignore. You're not always chasing the woman. You're chasing the emotional experience you think she can give you. And married women, intentionally or not, carry the energy of emotional safety, sexual confidence, and maturity that most men never find elsewhere. But if you don't see it clearly, you'll confuse emotional resonance with destiny. You'll imagine a connection that doesn't actually exist, and risk everything chasing a feeling that was never yours to keep. A Stoic man, he appreciates the depth, but he doesn't drown in it. He feels the pull, but he doesn't lose his frame, because real masculine power isn't about getting lost in the emotional waves. It's about standing firm while the tides rise around you, calm, certain, in control. But beyond emotional depth, there's another force married women awaken inside you, one that feels heroic, one that feels noble, one that, if you're not careful, can completely hijack your rational mind. It's the ancient instinct to rescue, to save, to be her hero. And if you don't master it, it'll master you. Let's get into it. Number 7. she triggers the hero instinct. There's a powerful instinct inside every man, one that's been wired into your DNA since the beginning of time. The instinct to protect, to provide, to rescue. It's not weakness, it's not neediness, it's masculine biology at its purest. And when you encounter a married woman, especially one who seems unhappy, distant, or emotionally neglected, that hero instinct wakes up. Suddenly, you're not just attracted to her. You feel called to rescue her, to give her what another man isn't giving her, to be the one who gets her. And on the surface, it feels noble. You're not chasing lust. You're answering a call for emotional salvation. You imagine being the man who lights her up again, who makes her feel alive, who restores what another man let die. But here's the harsh reality. Most of the time, it's a trap. A beautiful, emotionally charged trap. You're not saving her. You're saving the fantasy you built around her. Because the moment you start trying to rescue someone from their own emotional battles, you step out of your frame. You stop leading yourself and start living in reaction to her pain. Here's the truth most men can't face. You can't rescue a woman who doesn't want to be saved. You can't outlove her unhappiness. You can't fix emotional wounds you didn't cause. And the moment you make her healing your mission, you lose yourself. Because no real masculine power comes from trying to force someone to be happy. Real power comes from standing strong in your own energy, whether she rises to meet you or chooses to stay lost in her storms. A Stoic man understands this. He doesn't chase brokenness disguised as opportunity. He doesn't fall for the fantasy that he can fix, save, or heal a woman who's not willing to do it herself. He honors his hero instinct, but he keeps it disciplined, focused on leading his own life, building his own kingdom, protecting his own peace. Because the man who leads himself becomes the man women want to follow, not the man they drain to fill their emptiness. But even after all of that, the temptation, the energy, the fantasy, there's one final force that makes married women dangerously magnetic, one that most men never see until it's too late. It's not about her. It's about the emotional paradox she represents. Stability wrapped in rebellion. And if you don't understand it, it'll leave you chasing a feeling that can never truly be yours. Let's dive into the final piece. Number 8. She represents stability with a twist. After all the layers are peeled back, after the forbidden fruit, the feminine energy, the competition, the hero instinct, there's still one more reason married women feel so dangerously tempting. They embody a paradox. Stability, commitment, structure, wrapped inside the thrill of rebellion. Think about it. She's married, the ultimate symbol of stability and devotion. She wears a ring that signals order, tradition, loyalty. And yet, if she flirts with you, if she entertains attention from you, suddenly she's playing with fire. She's stepping outside the very structure she represents. And that collision, stability colliding with rebellion, creates a psychological high that most men aren't even conscious of. You don't just feel attracted, you feel alive. It's the emotional equivalent of skydiving. Controlled danger, structure at war with chaos. And deep down, that contradiction is intoxicating. The mind craves stability, the spirit craves freedom, and a married woman flirting with danger offers the illusion of both. The comfort of the known, mixed with the adrenaline of the forbidden. But here's the truth that most men never see until it's too late. It's an illusion. You're not being offered real freedom. You're not being offered real connection. You're being pulled into emotional chaos, wearing the mask of stability. And if you chase that feeling, if you dive headfirst into the paradox, you'll lose. Every single time. A Stoic man doesn't get seduced by emotional highs. He doesn't sacrifice his peace for a fleeting thrill. He understands that true stability isn't something you steal from someone else's life. It's something you build inside yourself, brick by brick, battle by battle, choice by choice. True masculine power isn't found in chasing forbidden comfort. It's found in standing so strong in your own frame that you no longer crave emotional shortcuts. You create the stability. You create the freedom. You create the life that others are tempted by. But you never betray yourself to taste what isn't yours. Now you see the full picture. The temptation isn't random. The pull isn't about her. It's about forces inside you. Silent, ancient forces that either control you or become the fire you learn to master. And mastering that fire, that's where true masculine power begins. Let's wrap this up. Now you see it clearly. The temptation you feel toward married women isn't random. It's ancient. It's biological. It's psychological. Forces deep inside you, pulling the strings without your permission. But here's the reality. You are not a slave to your instincts. You are not a puppet pulled by emotions you don't understand. A weak man blames the world for his temptations. A strong man masters them. He feels the pull, but he doesn't chase it. He acknowledges the temptation, but he doesn't bow to it. He stays rooted. He stays centered. He leads himself. Because true masculine power isn't about denying your nature. It's about understanding it and commanding it. In a world full of men chasing illusions, you become the one who builds his own kingdom, not by reacting, not by chasing forbidden fruit, but by mastering the battlefield within. And that, my brother, is how you become unstoppable. If this message hit something deep inside you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content built for men who refuse to live asleep. And in the comments, drop this: I lead myself. Let's build a brotherhood of men who walk with power, not permission.